Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Advisor. I am Lisa Urbanski, co-host of the show. I am pumped because I have Nelanthini Rajesan back with me today. Last episode, we talked about embracing the unknown. Nelanthini is a certified transformation coach and speaker. She has a diverse career spanning from various different industries, from nuclear to the toy industry. Nelanthony, the daughter of refugees, draws on her unique background. Beyond her professional success, she emphasizes principles learned from her parents and has impacted hundreds through mentoring and workshop. Despite outward achievements, Nelanthony's wake-up call prompted her to question societal conformity, advocating for authenticity and guiding women to rediscover their true selves amid societal pressures. Her mission is so clear, supporting women in breaking free from societal expectations and creating the life of her dreams. Now, Anthony wrote the book Gifts of Pain and is here today to talk to us about the trials and tribulations of the hero's journey. So I'm super excited because Nell Anthony is in Canada. I'm in Canada too, and she's in Toronto. We were just talking about the ice storm that was going on out there. But I want to welcome her to the show just after I thank our sponsors, Spreaker and iHeartRadio. Without you guys, this would not be possible. So good to see you again.
Yeah, it's good to see you again too, Lisa.
Love the plant. What is that real?
God, no, I'm terrible at managing plants. I have one that I'm surprised that's still living. So I may adopt another one. We'll see.
The real one or a fake one?
I think I have too many fake plants. I think I need to get one or two more real plants so that people I keep them on their toes. If they say it's real or fake, I let them guess.
Ah, it's good practice. It's like getting a pet or a fish. Maybe one day you'll have a baby, so you can look after a plant. I never keep plants alive, ever, ever. They die. I had an aloe vera plant. It died. I don't even think you can kill an aloe vera plant.
I can.
I did it.
Hey, maybe not aloe vera for me then.
So tell our audience what you've been up to, or talk a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm an engineer by trade, but I grew up as, daughter of refugees, as you mentioned earlier. My parents are from Sri Lanka. We're Tamil. So my parents escaped to Canada because of a genocide that was happening back home in Sri Lanka, where the Tamil minority was being targeted. So they were able to escape that 4 year. It was a civil war that took taken place for 4 years. At the time, my mother was 14, my father was 18. So imagine during the most critical years of your life where you're just meant to be a kid or just meant to go on dates and find the girl, like you're worried about bombs and military and being interrogated and or worse, right? So my mom was dodging bombs at 1 a.m. She would tell me. She would wake up and her older brother would just drag her to the bunker. So imagine 14 years old, you're running from bombs. Um, every night. Like it's like when you close your eyes, you know that you're gonna end up being woken up by bombs again. My dad, lived in the city. At any moment, he could have been ID'd or taken away, or some one of his neighbors could have, given him up and his family up. So like living from that fear for 4 years, coming to Canada where they were like they're a minority to having three girls and both, now you have these two parents that I'm sure, during their critical development years, they were in trauma or they were in fear for 4 extended years and some. So couple that in with, the psychological impacts to them, their PTSD, survivor's guilt, anxiety, fear, like couple that all in. To now you're raising three girls in a country where, you're still a minority. So this kind of triggered a lot of things in me and my sisters, specifically me because I'm the eldest. Now, being the eldest, the genocide ended in 2000 when I was 2014. So when I was like 13, 14 years old. So pretty much for 14 years of my life, this is something that was very loud in my family, very loud in my household. You hear things on the news at family functions, see it on the newspaper, it would come up during dinner, it would come up during celebrations, being like, like should we be really going big for this birthday? Should we be really going big for this like Christmas? Because, kids back home don't know if they're going to wake up the next day, or kids back home don't have food, or, hey, you should be really studying hard because, you know, people, you're very blessed. You could be back home right now, going through this genocide. So this like that guilt, that pressure kind of fell upon me. And I felt this need to excel, hit all the check boxes because society says, get a degree, get a corporate job, you know, find the partner, get the house, do all these things, work out, have friends, have a social life, do all these things. That's what deems you as successful. And I was trying so hard to hit those milestones that that's all that mattered, being the best in class, getting a job that that makes me feel like I'm better than everyone else, or anything that gives me a reason to tell my parents and have them be proud of me, anything that is worth bragging about. Granted, my parents never bragged about me. They didn't want to, but it's one of those things where as a child you want to, especially because I understood what was happening back home and I saw how upset it would make my parents, and I would hear stories. So for me, it's more so I put that pressure on myself to make sure that I'm perfect for them. And, so I went to engineering school. I got the corporate job. I was, I have two younger sisters. I was, doing everything that I can to be like the second mother to them when I shouldn't have been, but I put that on myself. And I was putting all this pressure. I was telling myself and everyone, like, yeah, I'm an engineer. Yeah, I work at a really nice corporate job. Yeah, I just put a down payment on a condo. Yeah, like I look after my sisters. I'm like a second mom practically. Like, just things that I shouldn't have been bragging about, that made me feel like I was achieving all the right things in life. Like I felt like I was in the right path, but
Mm,
I was seeking external validation. Whenever my
mhm.
parents did give me that validation, I spiraled. When, for example, it translated into romantic relationships where I would try so hard to get approval and validation. And when I didn't get it, I would lash out or I would cry, or, it was just so debilitating at times where I'd just be crying in my bed because I'm just like, I'm trying so hard, but no one cares. No one thinks I'm good enough. Like all these things, like all those negative thoughts, just
Yeah,
because
you were so disconnected from your authentic self, you know. I spent a lot of years when I was 30, liking things like if I had a crush on someone, I would look like I would creep them, see what they were into, and then I would pretend to be into the same things. And then not authentically, connect with them, but it would all be based on this idea of who I thought they wanted me to be in order for them to love and accept me in the moment where, you got to mesh with people that are authentically like you and who love your energy and all of that. So I can relate to that statement. And yeah, it's such a feeling of disconnect when you're not living authentically and when you're looking for external validation. Why, why do you think that was? Why do you think you thought that it was your job to make your parents feel better? Like, what do you know the moment? Like, what happened to make you think that that was up to you?
I think it was because in me understanding what happened to them and what they left behind. Like, for example, my mother's probably one of the most smartest, most resilient people I've ever met. But when she came to Canada, she went to high school and she was the only brown person in that high school. She was just, her English was not the best. She had to figure this out. She really wanted to go to college, but she didn't have any money. She got in, but she couldn't afford to go to college. So she had to, she lived with her brother-in-law and she was kind of getting scraps, and it was like this, like, I think it's just because I understood how much my parents struggled. I didn't want them to, and seeing how hard they've worked to what they are now, they worked so hard to get where they are now. I felt the need of, what, like, I need to work hard enough so I can be successful, ease that stress off of them, and then eventually maybe I look after them, or I can do this. Or my initial chasing was chase that money, get the big corporate job, work the way up, get all this money so that I can be the one paying for, a maid to come in, a cook to come in. Like I still want to do that, but the intentions are more pure as opposed to doing it so that I initially it was more for myself being like, look what I did. Look what I did
Mm. Yep.
versus I genuinely still want to do this. It's because I genuinely care because I want to ease, I want them to enjoy life. I don't want them to worry about this versus the intention before was not is more selfish. And it was truly because of multiple factors, right? It was just because I was old enough to see what was going on and I was able to see, the struggles that my parents have, what they've gone through. My sisters came along when my parents are doing quite well. So I was with them when I remember, like they couldn't get me baby formula at one point, and that's when my mom had to start going to back to work, and I was kind of seeing them through all their challenges. Plus, I understood on top of that what they went through from back home. I think it's just that all that pressure, I put it upon myself to, make sure that what they went through wasn't in vain. So a lot of it was internal. My parents just reminded me of the opportunities of that we have here because we are very fortunate. And I didn't
Mm.
want to lose out, like make them feel like I didn't respect them or cared enough.
So, now, Anthony, tell us how recovery started for you. How did you stop with all of these unrealistic expectations on yourself? And what was the turning point, if there was a turning point? And how did the transformation to authenticity begin?
So I had, this is why the hero's journey is very dear and near to me. I had two calls to adventure, or two, let's say, struggles or losses that were literally, I had the adventure, literally, when I say adventure, is like the journey that I was supposed to go on, literally waved me in the face. And I ignored it. So so one time was in February 2021, I got a phone call that a friend of mine had died by suicide. And this is a girl that I adored like a little sister. She was brilliant, beautiful, intelligent, kind. Whatever you I want to be, she was. And I was just in shock. And when I was reading her suicide letter right after, it was because I was angry. I was like, why would this happen? Like, how could this happen? She had literally everything perfect. Like she was doing everything right, intelligent, got into MIT just because she wanted to. Beautiful. Like she was winning awards, like left, right, and center. She was literally achieving all the tick boxes. So in my head, I'm like, why is someone that's doing so well in life feel that they can't do it anymore, or like had to make that choice, unfortunately, or had to deal with that darkness. And when I was reading her suicide letter, it started to make sense. The words
Mm.
literally were jumping off the page. And what I mean by that is I was reading a phrase and she was basically explaining why and what was going on. And she was saying how she doesn't understand why she feels this way. She was doing everything right. She should be grateful for the things that she has in her life, but it didn't feel right. Or she felt like she was living life the way that you're supposed to, the right way. And that was the specific phrase that really hit me, because she was living a life that she thought was the right thing to do, but she wasn't fulfilled. She didn't feel like it wasn't connecting with her, it wasn't bringing her joy. And it was because she was living a life that wasn't hers. And then all of a sudden, I started spiraling because I got angry because I'm just like, it's because of all the people around her, it's because of society, like it's because they were telling her what to do and she was doing it, and when it wasn't bringing her joy, she it just tormented her. And this triggered another thing that I hid deep in my memory was 5 years prior to that, I almost felt the same fate as her. And what I mean by that was I was in a relationship. I was trying to be the best sister, girlfriend. I was trying to study for exams. Like I was taking on so much. And I felt like I wasn't getting validation from my mother. I wasn't getting validation from my partner. Like I felt like my friends seemed to just be living life casually and going on. And I just felt like I was killing myself to study, to work out, to be a good girlfriend, to be a good sister and be there for my family, but I just felt like it wasn't enough and I got burnt out. And when I got burnt out, I started to speak up and say no more and set boundaries more because I just couldn't. And the funny thing is, when I would set those boundaries, I would be met with backlash. People would tell me that I'm being selfish. People would tell me that, they would call me bad names. They would tell me that I'm causing problems. They would tell me that, um, they would kind of make it about themselves, right? So I felt like my voice and opinion didn't matter. So at the time, I had thought that what's the point? Like, what is honestly the point? I'm trying so hard. I'm doing all these right things, but none of these people care. None of these people think are telling me that I'm doing a good job. And when I speak up, they're calling me these terrible things. So what's the point of all this? Like, I'm literally doing everything right, but for what? For what? And I was so exhausted. I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I was just at the point of exhaustion, and I was thinking about what is the easiest way to go, the cleanest way to go. Like, I was thinking about that. That's how bad it was. And
Wow, yeah, that's really difficult when you feel so helpless and like alone in the world, misunderstood, like life's not fair, right? But then the magic happens. Let's get into that.
so, luckily, I had really good friends that I reached out to because I think I was just looking for that one last, like, I was just looking for one last thing, like at least one person to tell me that I'm doing okay. So I messaged, I think that night, four friends. I called one and I messaged four, three of them, and all of them got back to me right away. And they're like, "Are you crazy? You're literally kicking ass right now. I wish I could be doing what you're doing. You're doing so amazing. Like they're saying stuff like you inspire me, or you're the reason why I'm doing this. Or they would say stuff like, why are you letting these other people dictate your value when literally you're here crying and they're probably eating a bucket of KFC, or they're probably watching TV giving no 2 cents about you right now." And that's when
Mhm.
it clicked. But I kind of, that first, I guess, call to adventure, that wake up call for me, I kind of shoved it aside for a bit. And then when my friend had passed, that was when it truly rocked me to my core, because it kind of brought up a core memory for me that was pretty close to me being like, oh my God, I almost fell to the same fate as her. So what I did after was I really started to try to understand who I was again. I literally took apart my whole identity, right down to the clothes I wear, the friends I have, um, my TV show preferences, my favorite color, even. Like, I dissected everything about myself and I spiraled, because I was like, I don't know what's real. I don't know who I am. And then, when I would start setting boundaries, I would still get a lot of backlash because I'm being different than how I'm usually am. I was a certain way for decades, and all of a sudden now I'm trying to figure out who I am again. It was like I'm going through like a rebirth again. It's like trying to figure out how to walk again.
Mhm.
But people expect you to hop instead of walk. Like, it's like a weird analogy that I'm giving, but it's kind of like you are literally going through a rebirth, and you don't really know, instead of having parents to guide you, like usually how to walk and how to talk, you're kind of figuring it out on your own. So for me, it took a lot. It took, honestly, I feel like it's kind of funny saying this, but COVID was a blessing because it happened
Mhm.
right before. And during COVID, for 2.5 years, 2 years, we were on lockdown. You had a small bubble. So for me, I had more time to be with myself. I
Mhm.
and also, I was going through so many things. I think last episode we were talking about how I was struggling with religion because I was mad at the gods and basically, saying like, why would you let this happen to a beautiful soul? So I was struggling with my religion. I was struggling with, faith. I was struggling with who my real friends are, struggling with who I am, what I am, struggling with setting up boundaries. So for me, COVID was a blessing because I had that disconnection from everyone, where it was on a smaller scale, it was very controlled. And I had more time for myself, and I had more time to meditate and go for walks and go on YouTube and read books and learn. And I was able to reintroduce myself to myself in a much
Mhm.
safer way, an environment with like less triggers and less outside noise.
Yeah, you were dating yourself. You got to date yourself and you fell in love with yourself. And that's what a lot of people don't understand and don't do. And, a lot of people think that it's selfish to not to prioritize themselves and to do those things for themselves. But until you truly fall in love with yourself, nothing in the world is going to be like looked at in a positive way. You can't be the best girlfriend. You can't be the best mother. You can't be the best at what you do unless you love yourself fully and completely and fully connect with yourself. So what a beautiful journey. It feels weird at first though, right? Like it feels so strange because I remember when I went through a similar situation of rebirth, let's say, I was looking at a blade of grass and I'm like, I don't think I've ever looked at a blade of grass like this looks weird. And I'm looking at the clouds and I'm like, where am I? Like it's like such a weird experience.
Oh yeah. Like, and I think this goes on to anyone embarking on their hero's journey. Like once you,
Mhm.
this episode we talked about was the call to adventure. When you finally, the hero's journey is triggered from, a loss or a struggle or dissatisfaction with life. And for me, it was kind of all of those. And for me, once I realized I'm like, okay, something needs to change, that was me accepting the call. And then me, you know, accepting the fact that I don't know who I am anymore and I need to figure out who I am and start setting boundaries and like crossing the threshold. Like that was what I started to do when, right before COVID happened. And then during COVID is where, I went through my trials and tribulations. So this kind of like brings us to this, the main topic of this episode is where, you have to understand that it's difficult. Things are weird. You don't know what's going to happen. It's very unknown. So you going through this journey, it's so important to have perseverance, to have determination. And because like imagine like Hercules, like he wasn't a hero right away. He had to go through multiple stages over and over again. And Luke Skywalker, like any person that you look up to, they weren't perfect right away or they weren't successful right away. Growth is not linear. Growth happens when you face challenges, and that's what this part of the journey, or what you were talking about, like these weird things that you're noticing for the first time, like figuring things out, like that's through the challenges that you face, and having a mindset shift where any kind of difficulty that you face, it's not like it's not end all. It's more of like a stepping stone to getting closer to who you are, because every challenge you figure out something new about yourself, especially when you're trying to achieve something, whether it's people go through a divorce, like they're I talk to a lot of people who are going through a divorce and they don't know who they are anymore, or they just feel like they've lost themselves in the relationship, or they feel like they're not lovable or they're not sexy enough, or even someone who's lost their job, lost a loved one. Like you go through all these things where you're trying to figure out, like, it kind of makes you question everything about yourself and what you want to do and what you truly want to achieve, or you bottom of the bottom. So going through these trials and tribulations, like, developing. I think the best thing you can do is like develop a resilience mantra, knowing that, what is happening to me is for me, like having, little reminders of why you're doing this journey, or taking note of your progress of how far you've come, and just understanding that in this part of your hero's journey, you're going to be learning from failure.
Mhm. You know what I like to say? My favorite thing is to say is everything is as it should be all the time.
Yeah.
Like all the time. The universe is slowly preparing us for the next phases of our life. And all the things that you went through, the universe was opening doors, like cracking open doors so that you could crack it open a little more and then get to the next phase. Wow. So learning from your setbacks and failures, right? Like that's a huge, huge thing.
Oh yeah, and I think what you have to be able to reframe failure and challenges, and say that like failure is a teacher, not a verdict.
Yeah.
Um, to have that reframing, like the journey is still difficult, but you understand that you give yourself some grace. You understand
Hmm.
I am going to be facing challenges. I will fail, but it's not the end. I will keep going. I will learn, because every time when you learn something new that you didn't know about 5 minutes ago. So it's kind of trippy if you think about it like that. But you know,
Mm.
this journey, and then as it's a very mature thing to do. It's also almost childlike too, because think about it like kids. Like kids, when they learn to ride a bike, when they try to learn to swim, they learn to do new things, they do it, they fall, they scrape their knee, they get up and they keep going. So it's kind of like almost kind of supporting your inner child almost, because it's like you're accepting that things will happen, but you just keep going. It's okay, just you try again, you get up and try again. And another thing is, um a lot of people think that they can do this alone. But
Did you
heroes,
just pull that from my brain? Because I was just going to say, I was just going to ask you, let's talk about like support and guidance from mentors and how that affected your life. Like, what was that experience like for you? Because I know I had to become obsessed with someone that I wanted to be like, and then I mirrored everything they did. I just became obsessed with like some people that I looked up to so much. Tell us about that experience for you.
so for me, it was, yeah, so because I was in COVID, like during COVID, like even though, I didn't have direct access to mentor, like a mentor could be someone that you listen to on the podcast, or even someone that you said, it could be an influencer that you look up to and you involve,
Mhm.
able to fall in love with a couple of influencers who I love their energy, I love their mindset. They're very honest about their journeys. They had a life that I kind of resonated with, or and in mimicking them, like you mentioned, or in mimicking them, or even like looking up to them, you can try things that they do and see if you like it. If not, and then from there you can like kind of put the pieces together slowly. And for me, I had a friend of mine who I was very honest with during my journey about my journey on, and she was so supportive. We would meet up almost bi-weekly just to go on mental health walks and just talk about life. And she was someone that truly just she would watch me come to my epiphanies. Like I would talk to her about something, and then all of a sudden I would start rambling, and then I would be like, "Oh my God, like this is what this means," or like, "Oh my God, like that's why I am the way that I am." And she would just listen. So for me, it was a combination of looking for mentors externally. So it could be listening to podcasts, YouTube, reading books, talking to friends, and it was trial and error. Like don't like take it to granted. Like it's so easy to find a mentor. It's not really. A lot of people don't realize that. It's finding people that you see a life that you want, or you see like they have the values. I think is more important. The values that you truly resonate with. Sometimes you find mentors and they help you, you feel like your journey kind of ends at a certain point, but that's okay. There's so many people out there that they have so many amazing stories. Speaking to friends and family, you can easily see who is someone that you can speak to versus who you can't really get, you would have to stay surface level with. And that's what a lot of people don't realize. Like um heroes like always have a mentor, a guide, and an allies, plural, that play a critical role. So each person can serve a particular role for you. You don't have to put all your eggs in one basket and just rely on this one person. They always say you're influenced by the average of the five people around you, not just one. So that's why I always say like have multiple guides, have multiple allies around you that you can speak to. And for me, it's literally trial and error through myself and with working with mentors and listening to guides and talking to friends that I was able to figure out what works for me and it really helped figure out who I am. So I think like the key thing is just kind of like even today, just like think about like who are the five people in your life that you truly resonate with, or who are five people in your life that truly inspire you and why. And like look at that and kind of look at them and be like, can these people be people that I can go to for support? Are these people that can give me guidance? Are these people that I can truly look up to and like be vulnerable with, right? So I would say that's kind of the key.
Nice. I love that. So what does your daily routine look like? What do you have a routine that you keep every day to kind of check yourself and check in and see how you're doing? Make sure you're still on the right path.
Oh yeah, of course. I always make sure the first thing I do for myself in the morning is have time for myself. So I always, wake up super early and do a workout, and then I end the workout with the meditation because I love moving my body in the morning because it kind of reminds me like I'm so grateful that I can move my body. I'm so grateful that I'm healthy. Like, and I love, doing any kind of fitness, whether it's Pilates or weightlifting or, jump rope. It's just challenging myself to be better. Cause like, think about it, like heroes, right? If you think about like any kind of DC or Marvel hero, they're always training, they're always being better. There's always that hero, like Rocky montage. Like, it's kind of making like a mini movie for myself. So I love doing that. And then I love ending with the meditation because it's very grounding. Because often, we could be caught up in the chaos, but just having 5 to 10 minutes of just for yourself, like on the ground, just pausing and just letting your thoughts kind of flood through you. That is something that it's a non-negotiable for me. Um, and just, going through my day, making sure that my husband and I always say I love you at the beginning of the day, because that again is another grounding moment because often we just get caught up in the chaos of running around, but stopping and telling someone that you love them isn't, it's so powerful. I don't know how to explain it. It's just try it. Like just tell someone that you love them and why. And that alone just makes you feel so warm inside because a lot of times we forget that people care and we forget that people truly love us for us. And it could be feel like even though we're so connected through technology, a lot of people feel lonelier than ever. So having that, you know, making sure that it's right in the morning because you start your
Yeah,
day.
that and we're all distracted by our phones, right?
Yeah, exactly. And and then I go throughout my day, but I always make sure I take either like a midday little walk. So whether
Mhm.
it's outside or or even when I come home, just go for a nice walk with my husband and unpack the day, talk about what happened, and then we kind of talk about what are we excited for, and we kind of like, oh yeah, what do you want to do? Oh, I saw this on the thing, we should try it out, or kind of like being excited and kind of ending the day. I like to have my lights off, and I like to have like like I have like lamps throughout the house and like little candles, so we like to like light the house up that way and just watch our favorite show and kind of just like eat dinner together. And it's very having like a very mellow evening is so important to me because a lot of people are very cortisol driven, like they have so much cortisol in their body that they just um they just feel so tight and tense and exhausted. But having like a moment where you come home and you just wind down and just are so cozy and warm, it makes you feel safe and protected because I think about it as like every day is a hero's journey. Every day you wake up, you go on that journey, and then for example, usually a hero finds a cave, or the hero goes to a hut, or the hero goes finds like another comrade, and they go sleep at their hotel or something, and then they go and go into the hero's journey again the next day. So I kind of like to see my life in that way of like a movie. So it's like heroes training for the day, hero goes through the day, hero comes home, reflects on their journey, and then prepares for the next day in battle or the next day of their journey. So that's kind of how I like to frame my day and routine. And it does fluctuate based on how my day goes, but the structure ultimately stays the same.
That's awesome. I like to start my day with yoga and meditation as well. It's so grounding and it just sets the tone. Typically, people rush out of bed and, rush to get to where they're going, and it just that sets a chaotic tone, right? So important to wake up and ground yourself and show gratitude. And sounds like you've got a great routine. That's amazing. I would love it if you would tell our audience a little bit more about what you do. I want to talk about your book, Gifts of Pain, and where people can find that. If you can touch on that as well, that would be amazing.
Yeah, of course. So specifically for me, I help people who are just trying to figure out where to go in life. I help a lot of people, for example, women who are trying to up level in their careers. I help women that are trying to balance their work and home life. I help women going through breakups, divorces, a woman that just feels like they're behind in life, or a woman or just people in general that feel like they're alone and they're just dissatisfied with their life and they don't know what to do and they need guidance or they need someone to help them basically create the life of their dreams while minimizing chaos. That's kind of what I help them do because there's a way to transform your life without spiraling and dealing with all this chaos of dealing with people, trying to figure out who you are too. So that's kind of what I help people do. And also just kind of segues into the book as well is kind of I help people recognize that any kind of pain that they go through is actually a gift. And that kind of brings me to the gifts of pain, where I am one of 30 other authors. And basically, it's 31 amazing people that have come together to share their journey. So, this is a book that it has multiple journeys of other people, of their own hero's journey, what they went through, and as a result, what have they overcome? What have they learned? And the youngest author is 13 years old, and another woman, she was in jail for quite some 20 something years, and she was able to get her master's, and she was teaching in the jail. Now she's a speaker helping with prison reform. Another man was shot and he was paralyzed from the waist down. He had to figure out how to walk again. So like these are just absolutely mind-blowing stories that whenever you feel like you're down or not motivated, or whenever you feel like, your life is hopeless and you're just stuck, just open a chapter in this book and it'll just re-inspire you again. Like even I still do this and I just randomly flip to a page and I'm just like, if they can go through that, I can do this. So that's why this book, you can find it on Amazon. It's you can buy an ebook or the paperback book, you can get it online. And honestly, it's nice to hear the stories of others because it makes you feel like you're not alone.
So what chapter are you?
I'm chapter 7.
Ooh, is that lucky number 7? Do you have a favorite number? So off topic. I just went like so off topic.
I always like the number 7, but for me, growing up, I love the number 3 and 5. My mom,
Okay.
I think it's like a very Indo culture thing where there's like numerology based. So like based on your
Hmm.
birthday's October 23rd. So if you add the two numbers up, I'm a 5. And I've growing up, people always liked me, like my aunts and uncles, and even my friends, like parents, liked me because they're like, oh, she's a 5. Oh, she's amazing. She's good. Fives are good. I kid you not. When my husband at first was telling his parents about me, his mother asked what's my birthday. And I'm not even joking. It's because I'm a number 5 that my mother-in-law was like, oh, okay, so she must be a really nice girl before even meeting me. So
That's awesome. What is your sign if you're October? Scorpio? No.
on the cusp. Yeah, so I'm a cusp. So I'm a Scorpio Libra cusp.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Interesting. Do you follow astrology as well?
Yes, I do. Yeah. So I'm a Scorpio Libra cusp, Libra moon, and a Capricorn rising.
Oh, interesting. So for your moon, that's the veil, correct? Or no, is the veil is your or veil is your sign.
Yeah, so the moon is kind of like who you are truly and like emotionally and like what kind of who you are as a person when you're most vulnerable. So Libra makes sense. And then Capricorn is like how people perceive you or how you come off to
Hmm.
people. So it makes sense.
And then the Scorpio is like the mysterious side of you.
The mysterious slash I would say the
Stubborn.
yeah, stubborn, yeah, definitely stubborn. Stubborn,
Amazing.
like very like yeah, so it's funny because my sister, whenever I get angry or whenever I say why are we helping, like why are we going to this family function, like they did this to mom and dad, like why are we going there, like I don't understand, why are we entertaining this. My sister's like, oh my god, you're such a Scorpio, like you're very like, because Scorpios are very like if you do something once or like once they kind of say no, we don't trust you, like don't come near me. um
Yeah,
yeah, or whenever I'm
that's
mad,
awesome.
oh, here's a Scorpio coming. So
Scorpio's coming out. I love it. Well, Neil Anthony, it was so much fun getting to know you more, and I know our audience appreciates getting to know you. And all those little things make up who you are, and that's why I wanted to touch on those things because you've discovered who you truly are, and what a gift because now you're able to give to the world and share from your trials and tribulations and they can learn from your hero's journey. So it's been amazing. Thank you again for being here.
thank you for having me. I love being here.
Do you want to leave our audience with one really strong tip or point from this episode that they can take with them till the next episode?
Yeah, of course. Basically, I want everyone to know that you guys are the hero of your own story, not anyone else. And, challenges are growth, setbacks are learning opportunities, and mentors and allies are the guiding light in all this chaos. So don't underestimate all those three and just be more kind to yourself and look after yourself, and you will transform and you will get the life of your dreams. You just have to be patient and resilient.
Love that. Being patient and resilient. What a beautiful way to end our episode.
Thank you.
So thank you guys for tuning in. That's Nelanthini Rajesan, everyone. And she has such a story. And she also has a podcast on our platform. So please go back and check out the first few episodes. They were amazing. And she's just such a light being. I love doing these shows with her. And to all of you who tuned in, thank you so much. And we cannot wait to see you again. Until next time.